The art of rail photography has been practiced by numerous photographers over the years. Only a very few have tuned this art form to its highest level. One of the masters who has succeeded is Richard Steinheimer.
But traveling with cameras and meeting people and encountering new situations is really pretty neat, because if there was anything you really liked, you also brought a piece of it back with you in terms of film.
Steinheimer has been called the Dean of Contemporary Western Rail Photography. For over 50 years, he has chronicled the people, places, and equipment that make up this special world of railroading. We are fortunate enough to be able to go behind the pictures and meet the man whose photographs stand out even without a byline. In this case, Richard has gotten together with his lifelong friend, Don Sims, for a nostalgic trip through the southwestern United States.
There, I see something now. Again, now see right there, but it may be it would be a fun kind of thing to sort of recount some of the war stories and the fun things that we were experienced to, both as kids and then adults and then now later in life.
Richard Steinheimer was born in Chicago in 1929. After a stay in Arizona, his mother resettled in Glendale, California. His earliest memories of trains date to the SP main line located only several hundred feet from the house. His first camera was a baby Brownie. A trip back to Arizona to visit relatives was memorable not only for the train ride aboard the Grand Canyon Limited, but also for an introduction to his cousin's black and white darkroom. Dick studied the contemporary masters of train photography at the time, H.L. Kelso, Frank Peterson, and others who were featured in Railroad and Trains magazines. His first published railroad photo appeared in Trains magazine in 1947. After nearly graduating from college and a 2-year stint in the Navy, Dick started work as a newspaper photographer in San Rafael, California. He married in 1955 and had a boy and 2 girls with his wife, Nona. Dick worked at a variety of jobs over the years, including staff photographer at Fairchild Semiconductor. Most of his early work was done on weekends and vacations with family in tow. He didn't devote himself to full-time railroad photography until he was 58 years old.
Really getting going in railroad photography started with meeting Don Sims about 1948 or so. He was an avid photographer, and as I was, and we both had old cars, and so we would head out for Mojave into the desert or into the mountains or Tehachapis, and it was really exciting. There was certainly great steam action, and that he was as goofy as I was, and so we made a perfect pair. Well, civilization, it's nice to have known you.
Probably the first train we'll see is the one due here at 12:25. It's a Pine Bluff, West Colton train.
I've been fooling around here a little bit because of being like an old black and white photographer, where I'm not trying to get the exact composition real tight, like younger guys would in color slides, but more as the black and white photographer expects to crop the pictures before they be used.
We came here the first time in 1953, and that it's still in the days of train orders, and over here in this draw, why there was, on that evening I drove by on the old highway, why there was a little train order office with the lights on, and I stopped and got a picture of it against these just black hills and just the moonlight in black jaggedy desert hills, and it's sort of a favorite picture. And now today, you know, 40 some years later, why the track has been moved. They've lowered the level of it here to make it easier for the trains, and that they don't have train order offices. They don't have steam engines. You know, yet trains still run here, and it's still interesting. It's still a pretty place at Mohawk, Arizona.
Pressing eastward from Mohawk, Arizona, Dick remembers some of his best work was during the last days of the steam era.
When we turned the corner and went up to Thistle, Utah, where the helper station, why, it was just fantastic. And I never saw a day of railroading or 2 days of railroading as interesting ever again. And it was like that was the high point of what I experienced. I can't speak for Don. And then it was like snatched away, because when we went back a year later, or passed through a year later, the steam was gone, and it was like that. The whole big show was over, and wow. I mean, so maybe that's what helped us also helped retain our interest in railroads, because we saw the greatness, but we weren't quite able to capitalize on it either, like older people or more experienced people could have done. Okay, snakes, here I come.
When you're out in the middle of nowhere and you hear a train coming, well, if there's anything that you haven't done in advance in terms of getting a good place or a good angle to shoot, well, you better start running, because it's not going to take long. And certainly the way we look for a viewpoint is at the heart of the photographs that we'll end up with.
And so a lot of fine shots that railroad photographers have made have been just reactions. But on the other hand, some of them, great shots, have been made by, you know, real design and planning and going back to a place 10 times or whatever. Sometimes it gets worse. Sometimes it never pays off. And other times you come to either breakthrough weather or breakthrough action or something that then just transforms the situation, and you come out a winner. The example is the cover of the recent book, The Whistles Across the Land, where I set up looking over the school kids, and then all the school kids put their hands to their ears and it sort of helped make the picture distinctive. But it wasn't anything that I anticipated at all. So sometimes you just fall in a puddle of mud and come out clean, you know. My fine tuning fork ears detect the possibility of a train arising over the hill to the east. Boy, he's coming. Ooh.
Yeah, if you have the mind of a photojournalist, why, you tend to stay with the subject quite a bit, not just sitting waiting days or hours for an exact view, but looking for the life of things and the sort of surprising elements, and and realizing that the things that you shoot in an afternoon or morning or whenever can go together to provide interesting sequences. I like to shoot a lot of details, which many photographers do not do. Well, even if it's of the rails or signals or trackside things or signs or the surrounding scenery, why it's really nice to have in doing books or articles, because they all go together in a kind of mix that can be interesting. And it's sort of like, even if the pictures aren't knockouts or wonderful, that at least they can stay on stage for a short time before having to get off.
Again, it's really fun to be out here, and we may even get another chance yet here.
The railroads, I say, represent the history of the United States as well as the present. And because they've been around for so long, at least 100 years in most cases or more, that you see the antiquity of them, and yet at the same time you see the modernity. What we call piggybacking probably started even during the Civil War, where they would take wheeled vehicles and put them on trains and haul them across the line. And then that eventually led to them putting truck trailers on railroads, and then nowadays, why they even eliminate the truck trailer and put double stack containers on trains for expedited movement.
Well, shoot, we're going out to lovely places like Bowie and Wilcox, and let's see, in the garden spot of El Paso.
I think that Don Sims and I came along about the time that the direct side views of locomotives were beginning to lose momentum, that was a favorite way before our time of photographing a locomotive, because they were steam, and that when you did a picture from the direct side of it, why, you saw all the wheels and everything, and technically that was a significant picture. Then later in our era, why, we could shoot pictures that were wedges or other angles with zoom lenses, and get a lot of variety into our railroad photography.
This car is unusual in that it's one of the copper hauling cars. Came out of the, like, probably up the branch line. What is it, to Globe or Miami?
Yeah, Globe, Miami. This.
And then this will be sent probably to El Paso for further refining. But it's real heavy stuff. Every trip we always try to, or at least I certainly do, scout around for some possible future trip. And so that way you, even though you don't learn a lot at any one time, if you're into it for years, why, then you're an expert. After a few years, you're a de facto expert, because you're the only guy that ever wasted the time and energy to go look around in addition to what you're doing. What's sort of neat here in a way is you have one of the old institutions of railroading, block signal, and then you have the jet contrails just sweeping across here. That's a textbook picture of a signal there, if you want it for your silent images. Yeah, it was a pretty nice shot from the hill. We got up there and it could look out and see these westbounds coming. And first one, and then by the time the first one was getting near me, I was able to shoot the rear end of it and the next one coming. And then the same thing happened again. On the second train, it came up full of vim and vinegar and little headlights out there in the distance of the third westbound. So it was nice and busy. It's great.
One time, the Trains magazine people asked me the difference between the wide-angle pictures and a telephoto picture. And I thought about it quite a while, and I wrote back and said, well, basically, if you can see your feet or the ground in front of you, you're using a wide angle. And if you can't see the ground in front of you, you're using a telephoto.
Well, we bought this place 5 years ago.
Oh, is that so? I didn't. You didn't.
Well, the real essence of travel in the West isn't just how many miles you can put on in a day or race across the countryside. It's, can you have the quality of experience and being able to stop sometimes and talk to railroaders or talk to small townspeople. And it's amazing what you can learn doing that.
This is the train station that was here, and at the bottom of the hill they had a stone quarry until 1923, and they used that stone to put in the railroad here. It started in 1875, and people lived all the way down into the bottom of the hill here.
How many shots did you do of each?
I just took 2 shots.
2 exposures.
Yeah.
What lens did you use?
200 millimeter.
Yeah, so that'll make it nice in the mountains. Or you had little mountains in.
Right, I did.
Oh, that should be neat.
I had a real neat shot here when they were still stopping. With that old char, it was at twilight, you know, just the nose of the engine, and it really came out great. I didn't want the cafe; it showed up, but it looked good, actually. One of those accidents. A town without McDonald's is a town without respect. How's that?
I think it's something.
No, he must be stopped, Dick. This is where the line goes up to Clifton.
A lot of times you fall into it. Like there's a beautiful scene that you just shot, but then other times you're straining and waiting and working and shooting, and everything's poor or weak, and it's funny. So that's why sometimes when I'm out with people and they get discouraged, I'll tell them, well, look, we've had all this bad luck, so I think we've used up our bad luck. So let's wait for because it's time for good luck. Now here's where you look for tiny puffs of smoke or anything to see if there might be a train over the hill or, you know, round the bend or...
I've been out on places on the Santa Fe branch lines where that it was so quiet that all you could hear was the blood going through your own head.
We're at the stage of thinking we're going to get to where it's incapable of shooting. And so the question is, should we drive back and try and encounter the train that we can't see most of the way and probably or perhaps miss it, or to indeed stay here because we know that if we live long enough it'll come, but that may be long after the sun has gone down.
If you want to go back up, I'll stay here. How's that?
Okay, well that is a possibility.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'll just stay here. And why don't you go see what you can see? Because I got an idea staked out down here, and I'd like to stay with it.
Yeah,
It doesn't work
okay.
out fine.
Well,
but
that's
yeah.
fine.
I don't mind going in a few minutes, but maybe I'd like to try a picture or two, just showing the junction itself, just for the heck of it. And then maybe no train probably.
Not exactly working out, but it might, yeah. May need flashlights to see the cameras. Oh, wow. This way.
Ooh, look, quick.
Oh, that is nice.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's.
It's.
I wish I'd seen that before.
We're on the Southern Pacific here, and this is their one of the main freight routes between Kansas City and the Chicago and those points, and then El Paso.
These were some of the last semaphore signals in the SP outside of Oregon and some years ago, and I thought by now they'd be totally gone.
Yeah.
So it's surprising to see them.
Gosh,
That is.
what a beautiful.
The curve is nice as it curves into you. I always love those curves.
Oh.
It curves toward you.
God. Oh, there's smoke. I see smoke out there, but that doesn't mean anything necessarily.
2 units. I like the background. It really gives a feeling of space here, the distance.
You know, when we get out on the line, why it's very interesting to be able to see guys working, particularly track crews out there, because in a way, they're rebuilding the railroad. In other words, they are reenacting what guys did 100 years maybe earlier. And so, even though their work is different, that it's fun to be out there with them and to get a feel for their handling of the steel and of their tasks that they have to perform in order to keep the roadbed in good condition. And my saying is that if Rambo was a railroader, he'd be a maintenance away foreman, because that's probably the toughest job on the railroad. A hard hat, but pull it back though. Yeah, so we see your face. Yeah, and if you guys want to pull it up a little bit, yeah, that's good. Okay, that's good. I'll do a couple. Okay, that's fine. This old freight car sitting out in the field is interesting because you can see how the lettering still showing the El Capitan, the 39 3/4 hour streamliner between Chicago and Los Angeles. Wow, well, that's been gone a long time, but it just reflects part of the personality of the high-speed service on the Santa Fe lines. We're near Willard, actually. We're just west of Willard, New Mexico. You can tell railroads that were built later because you see the gradual curves in it. It doesn't have the sharp curves and sharp grades that they eased it. They could begin to see that trains not only had to go places, but they also had to go quickly. And you can see they did a nice job here with this high-speed curve. It's a big loop, actually, and unlike most loops, this thing looks like it was laid for, 90 miles an hour. It looks to me like it has a little bit of a bank, but not much. So it slowed down the trains a little to do that. But on the other hand, like in the curves and hills, it allows the freight trains today to pull, 2 or 3 times what they would have in the steam era. The problem with steam locomotives was that every locomotive was custom in a sense, that there was no part you could take off a steam locomotive and then just simply put it in another place, in a similar location on the engine. So they wasn't mass-produced. Therefore, it required tremendous expertise and maintenance. The diesel was produced mass production, so you could just swap parts out and get going again. So that was what really caused the greatest demise of steam locomotives. Hey, the depot's still here. I'd still like to get a shot of that, if you don't mind just a minute. I've never shot much at all at the Santa Fe depots. It's doggone it. It's one of these things sometimes you approach too closely and you get backed into your own trouble. When I was young, everyone rode trains, and it was an exciting thing to do. You'd stand at the station and the train had come in, a big, huge thing, and it was romantic and it was participational with other people. And that was a part of the excitement of it. And even sometimes today, when you ride something or see a train go by, some aspect of it reminds you of the romance of your youth and of the enjoyment of the travel and out into strange locations. It could be a really fine shot with that super telly, but sort of be nice to have a train come. Oh, send the train. Looks like might be smoke down there.
Yeah.
Well, that was great. That looked really nice from up there. Yeah, when he went through the switch, wasn't that something? Yeah, that was all right. Well, that was great. I'm sure glad we went down there. Yeah, I think the hunting effect of that the thing going through the switches where the nose would just shift over, that'd be a nice picture. Yeah, I think that'd be good. was good. I think that should have been sort of exciting looking down on it.
Because of working on the track there.
Do you ever get tired shooting in the West, Don?
No, I don't think so, because there's such a tremendous variety. Mountains, deserts, plains. Certainly, it gives you tremendous potential as far as terrain photography is concerned.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
it's not just a matter of a wedge in the sky and 3/4 that you see in certain areas.
I think being out places like this is part of the greatest part of enjoyment.
It's probably the best time of day,
Pictures.
actually, early in the morning and just late, in the afternoon when the sun's about ready to go down, are probably, in terms of light, are probably some of the best times.
And today, we may go down in flames today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that anything's going to come.
Oh, primarily because you get such better side lighting.
Yeah.
When it's noon or straight overhead, it's not exactly dramatic, but late in the day it certainly is.
To Don, the power of the steam locomotive was the center of attention during the mid-1950s, as he and Dick continued to make numerous photo trips and write magazine articles.
The steam engine was far more moody than the diesel ever thought of being. The smoke at 50 miles an hour, the smoke at 10 miles an hour. If the fireman was cleaning out his smoke box with a little sand or something, just all sorts of, steam engine going 60 is different than steam engine going 10. A diesel locomotive going 60 or 10, visually, from a camera standpoint, unless you use low shutter speed, there's no difference. So I think maybe that's why you kind of focus on the scenery more today, to get the variety. When I think about it, where the people there in the past focused more on the class of engine.
When Don Sims and I started shooting in the 1940s, why the steam locomotives, in fact, even a lot of the cars were black, and black and white film was superb for that. Now, later years, why the colorful diesel locomotives came along and colorful cars, why that's the kind of thing that publications prefer to use today. It sounds funny today, thinking that you can get educated by being out along the railroad as a photographer. But Don and I stopped in a lot of depots and a lot of places, and almost without exception, why the railroaders are very mature people. They were guys that knew had traditional jobs and knew how to do them, and were often kindly toward kids coming in and wondering about it. And so a lot of our attitudes, and I think our maturity, came out of the contacts with railroaders in stations and train crewmen and other people. It was a wonderful kind of informal education.
I think the Santa Fe is probably the only railroad in recent years to order new B units.
Yeah, that's right. Why don't we take a chance and see if we can get a shot of something coming down the other direction. It may not work out. This is a Santa Fe Q train, a quality train. That's a high-speed thing. It's a kind of certain delivery. It's only one locomotive unit and a bunch of cars, including UPS. And this thing's going to highball down and get to Phoenix later this afternoon.
Oh, okay. How about a chocolate shake, I guess, or malt, chocolate malt.
Make up your mind, sir.
Okay,
Malt, you want both.
chocolate malt.
Anything else?
That's it. For Seligman, it's a real champ. Place of dead chicken and stuff. Yeah.
Perfect shot is when it happens every rare time when there's a train going around there and one coming down here. I've seen it. I never have gotten it.
Oh, yeah, I never have.
But
Yeah.
I've come close a couple of times.
This is really busy out here on the Santa Fe. That they really do good service, and there's another train.
I love getting out in the field to try and make good railroad pictures. People wonder sometimes why, but it's the excitement of the physical hiking, or the carrying, the driving, the waiting for the sun, the hopefully train, and to be able to, out of that, make something that's interesting or beautiful or significant, and that's a real thrill. Well, I think in railroad photography, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. There are some women don't want to go with you again if they go out with you one time, or that you may be out freezing in 0 or below, or you may have to eat snow for hours before anything happens. Or there are a lot of negative sides, but it's still the thrill of the chase and of the accomplishment that still drives us on.
Finally, the Desert Odyssey comes back to where it started, over 50 years ago, Cajon Pass, California.
So my earliest best shots were taken up here, because obviously because it was so close.
Yeah. Well, it shows we haven't progressed much, because here we are again. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, part of today's Cajon Pass includes motorcycles and guys zooming around in dune buggies or whatever. We were talking about like having come up here since 1948, and that's, you know, that's 45 years ago. And yet, but that's one of the neat things about photography, is that you have pictures you took, if it's 48 years ago or whatever it is, and you've not only seen the changes, like the railroaders all saw the changes, and other people see the changes, or out of the corner of their eye or frontally, but only the photographers have the pictures. And so you're a keeper of history. Photographers like Herb Sullivan picked out as a particular place to shoot. So now they've named a curve down there, Sullivan's Curve, and it's just above Cajon Station, and that's really beautiful. And it's changed a little over the years, but and other people like it up by the summit. And anyway, it's just a place in Southern California where you can see a lot of trains in a relatively short time. And
Don and Dick return home, knowing the lure of trains and the mystique of the people and places will once again have them on the road on a journey without end.
But it's nice that we got a chance to talk about things, and it was fun talking about some of the old trips we've made and things.
Okay, nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For going along down memory lane sometimes.
Thanks for Chinchilla Joe over here.
I don't think doing railroad photography is a good career. It's just simply that the demands for the physical side and the planning and the execution and all those other things are like going to Africa on a great lion hunt or something, and it's very thrilling, and to be able to accomplish a good picture is just very pleasing.